The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
The Paranormal View. The Paranormal View. The Paranormal View. Time now for the Paranormal View. The Paranormal View on the Para X Radio Network with your host, Henry Foister, Craig Rupp, and Jeffrey Gould. The Paranormal View.
Welcome everybody to the Paranormal View right here on the Para X Radio Network. I want to welcome everybody that's here with us tonight in chat and to those who are listening from around the world. If you're not with us here in chat, you can do so by going to para-x.com and click on the live chat button at the top of the page. You'll be in with all these wonderful people and you'll be able to interact with us and you'll be able to ask questions of our guest by private chatting them to either Jeff or myself, and we'll get them right over to our guest. I do want to make sure that everybody knows that Craig will not be with us tonight. He is doing an investigation, so tonight's just going to be me and Jeffrey and our guest. And our guest tonight is Clea Danaan, or Danaan, I'm sorry. Which way is it?
Danaan.
Danaan. I was close. I was all around.
I was going to say, with a Celtic name like that, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it's Danaan.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not good on names. Jeffrey can attest to that.
You should spell my name.
But she is the author of a bunch of books that we're going to talk about tonight. And the books are The Sacred Land, Voices of the Earth, and The Way of the Hen. And she has some others too, but I don't think we'll have time to get into those because I've only got about 3 pages worth of questions. So with that, we want to welcome Clea to the show tonight. So everybody give her a big welcome. Parax, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be on the show.
Oh, you're very welcome. And
the chat room goes wild.
So I think the first thing that we're going to do is let you tell about yourself. Who is Clea,
Okay.
and how did you get to where you are today?
All right. Well, let's see. I knew you were going to ask that question, so giving it some thought. Interesting to see, one's own story and how it's evolved. A lot of the reason I'm here is of my father. He gardened a lot, and he was interested. He was a Lutheran minister, but he was interested in chakras and energy and meditation, and he actually taught me to meditate when I was a girl. And I think that planted seeds in my spiritual quest. My mother was a recovering Catholic, and she's agnostic, and so I had lots of different seeds planted. Question reality, question religion, but also follow religion and find spirit, find heart, and do so in a way that's grounded in the earth. And so a few years ago, I was doing massage therapy. I'm a Reiki master and was practicing massage therapy and volunteering at an organic farm. And I started to long to write, and writing articles for Sage Woman magazine, and just kept at it. And I had 2 children and just kept at it and published a few books now.
Very good.
Yeah, so it started at an early age of enjoying writing, interest in the earth, and interest in the spiritual.
So
and just a lot of hard work.
It's a lot of hard work. Now,
yes.
In order to write these types of books, I assume that you have been doing a lot of the gardening. Now, when you say gardening, are you talking about vegetables and stuff like that, or are you talking about flowers and herbs and everything?
Everything. My first personal garden, I used to help in the family garden, which was a vegetable garden. My first garden, my own garden, was an herb garden, and I got interested in herbal healing and herbal energies and fairies through this herb garden that I had when I was in high school. And now I organic garden and practice permaculture. And then we live in a really dry climate, so we have xeriscaped our front yard, which xeriscape is low water gardening, so you don't have to use a lot of water to keep your plants happy and healthy. So I do a little bit of everything.
Well, now, since you mentioned that, in order to do stuff like that, low water, is there certain types of plants and stuff that you have to use, or is there another way that you go about to be able to grow them in less water?
It's a combination of things. It's the plants, so there's a lot of Mediterranean plants like yarrow and lavender that are used, echinacea, plants that can handle some stress. And then you use a lot of mulch. You plant things together that need more water. So like my vegetable garden, I water a lot more than the front yard that has echinacea and sage and some other low, drought-tolerant plants. So it's a combination of things.
Now, with your books, well, I guess the Sacred Land that I was looking at to start with draws on such fields as somatic psychology, the arts, quantum physics, and permaculture is what you were saying. Won't you give us some examples of each one of those? Somatic psychology, what is that?
Somatic psychology, soma is the body. So somatic psychology is the study of how our body is the sort of like body language and pain that's held in our body from emotion, that kind of thing. And I actually studied somatic psychology for a year, looking for some tools to work with my massage clients because I felt like I kept hitting a wall. I kept coming up against clients' emotional stuff, which in massage school we're told don't go anywhere near that. And I just felt strongly that I can't not go near that. It's part of the body, the spirit, the body, and the emotions are all interwoven together. So I did a year in grad school for somatic psychology. So I'm trying to think of an example in Sacred Land where I draw on that. I think I talk a lot about when you're meditating, really feeling your body, really being a witness to what is happening right now. And I don't necessarily mean Disney feelings, just sensations.
Right.
Pain in your stomach, whatever. And everything we do is affected by how our bodies are feeling, essentially, the way that you interact with people, what your choices in life are. And so that affects how you're going to interact with the world and with the planet, essentially. So meditating would be one example.
Meditating.
Witnessing.
Okay. What about the arts?
I'm sorry?
The arts?
The arts, yes. So my undergraduate degree is I went to a small college in Bellingham, Washington, where I got to design my own major for undergraduate. And so I studied psychology, the arts, and environmental education, and put them all together into a thesis, which actually eventually turned into my book. And so I draw on human creativity in what we're doing. Gardening is creative. Practicing spirituality can be and should be, I believe, very creative. And it can be something like painting, or it could be something like communicating with spirits, I think, is a creative act, because we're tapping into a deeper level than we normally do on everyday life, whether you're painting or writing or seeing fairies.
Now, quantum physics.
Yes.
How does that work in?
Well, that's the baseline. Quantum physics is what scientists are discovering about our universe, that people interested in the paranormal are already interacting with. And I think over time, they're going to become more and more connected. There's a fabulous book by, I'm not going to remember his name. It's called The Secret Life of Nature. And he studied how the Theosophists who had followed this special practice of yoga were able to zoom in and see particles of reality, atoms, subatomic particles.
Right.
And their spin and their, string theory, and basically long before scientists had a name for it.
Right.
And those people also saw fairies and the energy of trees, the energy of plants, things that are written off today as being just fantasy. But, the author and other people who study this, of course, wonder, well, if they were seeing subatomic particles that are now being, and the rules around subatomic particles, like non-local reality, they were seeing that and naming it long before scientists were, then what about, in the energy of plants?
Would that be Peter Tompkins?
Yes, Peter Tompkins, yes.
So that's why you have a badger. I'm just saying.
Wait, I couldn't hear you. What did you say?
I said that it's just sort of a my friends say that's why you have a badger, which is my spirit animal, my totem, and my nickname, because I'm able to find stuff rather quickly.
Perfect. Yes. That works. That's great.
And what about permaculture?
Permaculture. Well, permaculture is, for people unfamiliar with it, it comes from permanent agriculture. And it was created by, here's another name for you to look up. It was created by a man in Australia, and it's spread throughout the world. And it's basically, how can we practice agriculture in a sustainable way? Because right now, most people know that the way that we're practicing our food production is not sustainable. It's poisoning the land and our children and our water, and it's the potato famine is a good example of how, an old example, and we have, the fears that something like the potato famine will hit our corn, for instance. That it's not sustainable. So we need to find some other ways to grow food and to make the planet livable as it heats up. And permaculture is all about that. So one example is in my daily life is that I've tried a practice this year in my garden called hugelkultur. And basically I've buried rotting logs underneath dirt. And as they break down, they nourish the soil. And it creates this wonderful fluffy soil, which, if you know anything about the soil in Colorado, it's not wonderful and fluffy. It's it's clay and sand mixed together, and it's impossible to grow things in it.
That's the way my yard is. Only I also have
Yes.
rocks thrown in it.
Right, yes, and the east it's just as bad. Different kind of clay, but just as bad.
Oh, yeah.
And so permaculture is a way that you can even grow food in the desert using these tools. And so when I wrote Sacred Land, I was just beginning to study permaculture, but I strongly believe that a piece of permaculture that doesn't necessarily get brought up often, on the permaculture chat boards and whatnot, is the spiritual piece, because it's a spiritual practice, whether we call it that or not. Our spirit, which loves the land enough to plant, plant plants and grow food and live in harmony with all of our neighbors. I see that as a spiritual practice. So that's essentially what Sacred Land is about, is living spiritually on the land through gardening
Now,
and farming.
if anyone has questions for Clea, you can private chat them to Jeffrey or myself, and we'll get them right over to her. The books are great books, and later on in the show, or at the end of the show, we'll be telling you if you'd like to go purchase one, how you can do that. The book Sacred Land, some of the things, topics, I guess you might say, that you have in it is you talk about organic gardening, environmental awareness, creating compost, saving seeds, connecting with the garden goddess, and planetary energy. What is organic gardening?
Organic gardening is gardening without chemicals, essentially. So instead of spraying Roundup on your garden, you might use some vinegar, agriculture vinegar, to kill weeds. And you would interplant. So you plant, a simple one is you plant tomatoes with basil. And the basil has chemicals in it that help the tomatoes both fight off bugs and smell better. Taste better. They smell great, but they taste better. So it's sort of an introduction to permaculture. Organic gardening is sort of a step between conventional gardening with lots of chemicals, tilling the land every year, which breaks down the microbes in the soil, and permaculture. So a lot of conventional gardeners are moving towards organic gardening, and a lot of organic gardeners are moving towards permaculture, I'm noticing.
Well, now, you say if you got weeds and stuff to use vinegar?
Yes, you have to find agricultural vinegar. It's the vinegar that we use in cooking has a fairly low percentage of acetic acid. I think it's like 3% or something, 2%. And the agricultural vinegar is a much higher percentage, is like 10%. It might be higher than that. I'm pulling numbers out of the air. But it'll kill weeds because the acetic acid breaks down the weed without leaving any poisons behind.
Well, good. I need to go buy some of that so I can get rid of half my yard.
Yeah, there you go. And boiling water is another way to get rid of weeds without chemicals. It'll kill anything around it, just like the vinegar. So you can't pour it on your lawn.
Well, now
if you have
once you pour this on, how long does it take before the weeds die?
With vinegar or with the boiling water?
Either one.
It's pretty, a few hours, I would say.
Really?
And sometimes you have to apply it again and again. The vinegar works best on a hot day because the plant sucks the vinegar down its root just as it would any liquid that you would give it on a hot day. And once it pulls it down into its root, it'll kill it. And you have to do the vinegar or the boiling water along with a whole lot of hand pulling, hand weeding. And then there's pre-immersion weed control, which means in the spring you put down what's called corn gluten meal onto your lawn, and that both fertilizes the grass because it's high in nitrogen, and it also kills off it makes weed seeds not germinate.
All right. And what's that called?
Yeah. It's called corn gluten meal, and you can certainly find them online by searching organic weed control. And a lot of nurseries are beginning to carry agricultural vinegar and corn gluten meal and other natural pesticides.
Now, are these expensive or fairly inexpensive?
They're not outrageously expensive, not a lot more. But they're probably a little bit more than Roundup because they're not the government isn't supporting they're supporting Roundup. They're not supporting agricultural vinegar.
Right.
So it does tend to be a little more expensive.
Which is bad also.
Yes, it is. However, like they recently published some studies that have been around for 10 or 15 or 20 years that Roundup causes nerve damage in people and in children. And I talk about in Sacred Land some studies that were done where they found that chemicals used in conventional agriculture cause birth control, yes, birth defects. They do cause birth control because it's lower sperm counts in men who eat conventional vegetables and fruits. And you just gotta wonder if it's messing up the bugs and it's messing up our insides and it's harming our children. That's pretty expensive to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, now,
and unfortunately, we have to foot the bill to buy the more expensive weed killer. But
well, now if somebody say uses Roundup or something like that to kill the weeds, how long does that stay around on the ground after it kills the weeds and stuff? I mean,
it depends on who you talk to. And I don't know the numbers because I haven't really researched it recently, but Monsanto would like to tell you that it doesn't stick around, that it's a couple days, a week at the most. But I think more recent studies from independent sources are finding that it does hang around in the soil. And so then if you go plant food in that soil, or birds come and eat worms in that soil, then that's spreading those chemicals around.
Now, birds, if they eat the seeds or whatever, and they fly somewhere else and dump them back out,
right.
If it's had Roundup used on them, would they still germinate and grow again and still be poisonous, or would the Roundup have already killed them and wouldn't do anything?
That's a really good question. I don't know if anybody's studied that. But, I have to think that in small amounts they would be there, and certainly energetically they would be there. We studied what's the Japanese man who did the work with words he would put on water, and then he would study the ice particles.
Oh, yeah, I know the phenomena, but I didn't know there was a specific guy doing it.
Yeah, he's a Japanese researcher. And now, of course, it's spread through the movie, like 10 years old now, What the Bleep. And,
yeah.
But basically, and it's the same thing with homeopathic medicine or with flower essences, that the energy of a thing is there. So any person you ever came in contact with has some of that person's energy in you, for instance. And so the energy of Roundup would be in that seed and in that bird and spread throughout. So in some ways it's sort of depressing because it's spread everywhere, and, why does it matter if I spray these weeds here, if people down there are doing it, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I feel like it goes back to the spiritual piece that we have a responsibility to live consciously as we can in the land, and bit by bit, we can change the energy of those seeds and the soil and the plants and the birds.
I can see right now that I'm going to have a hard time getting through 3 books.
Well, they're all connected, to be honest. My first book was, I originally wrote, so my first book, as I had told you before we got online, was Magical Bride, which is an e-book, and it was sort of my practice book. And I had an idea that I would write a series of books called The Goddess's Guide to whatever, The Goddess's Guide to the Magical Bride. And then my gardening book was originally going to be The Goddess's Guide to the Sacred Garden. And so I was actually originally writing it for women, which some male readers have found that frustrating because Sacred Land is definitely geared towards women more. It doesn't have to be, but that's how it was written. And let's see, where was I going with this? Okay, so that was kind of like my gardening, women, change the world book. And then I wanted to branch out from there and study more than just gardening, write about more than just gardening, but all the aspects of our life that are related to the earth, like eating food. And in Voices of the Earth, my published book, print book, I even write about entheogens, which is basically drugs, and the plants that are used for mind-altering substances, and animals, and the home. So it's taking my basic core of we need to live responsibly on the earth and find ways to live spiritually on the earth, and then Voices takes that further into different areas. And then my last book, which was originally published in the UK under the title
Don't give it out
and
yet.
the Art of... I'm sorry, what?
Don't give that one out yet. They aren't going to know what this one's about until we get started on it.
Okay, I won't talk about it yet then. That'll be a surprise.
Yes, because they aren't going to be expecting this one. One of the other things you talk about in Sacred Land is environmental awareness.
Yes.
I would assume that different regions, not only of the country but of the world, has different environmental issues, and the awareness and stuff would be different in some areas.
In some ways, yeah. It's definitely a very, act locally, think globally thing is definitely true. But in many ways, it's the same issues. It's clean water. It's clean, healthy, chemical-free food. It's working with the land that you live with, so that may look different as far as... I didn't xeriscape when I lived near Seattle, and here I do. But essentially, it's the same issues.
Creating compost. I'm sure
Yes.
some people that does gardening probably knows how, but a lot of people doesn't really know about creating compost.
Compost is fabulous because you take your garbage from your kitchen and your grass clippings and some of the weeds, and you mix it all together into a soup, into a casserole, and it bakes, and you have soil. You have fabulous soil that's balanced nutritionally and can be used as mulch. It can be used as a planting medium, and it feeds your soil. And there's different ways of doing compost. You'll find different recipes when you start digging, and so it can be confusing, and people can say, oh, I can't do this, it's too confusing, or I need a special compost bin, or what have you. But it's actually not that complicated. Basically, you want some green material, so grass clippings, the bottom of your broccoli that you didn't cook with dinner, any food waste that's not cooked or oily, so no bread, no salad dressing, but your kitchen waste, your eggshells, your coffee grounds, all that goes into a bin or a pile. And then you want a little bit of brown so that it doesn't get soggy and decay anaerobically, because that's disgusting. It's that black sludge,
Right.
And
So
you
then
don't
you
want
mix
compost when you're doing aerobics. Oh wait,
That's right. Doing compost is aerobic exercise because you have to turn it, and so yeah, you definitely want it aerobic. So then you mix in some brown, which could be some dry leaves. It could be some dog hair. I recently learned you can put the dust from your vacuum cleaner bag into your compost.
Really?
And eggshells, yes, you can. Which essentially is dust and dirt and cat hair, and
right.
So as long as you're not vacuuming up, I don't know, oil, crackers,
right?
Then you can. And then you can either just sit there and ignore it for a year, and it breaks down and turns into compost. Or most people turn it. They take a shovel or a
pitchfork.
Pitchfork, thank you, and they turn it. And it's because it needs oxygen. It needs what every living thing needs.
Right.
A balance of nutrients, oxygen, and water.
So how long does it take, once you say fill up your bin, how long does it take before it becomes good compost or soil that you can use?
If you have the perfect compost pile, it can take about 6 weeks.
Really?
I've only had the perfect compost pile once in my life. I added blood meal to it, which is really high in nitrogen, and it just kicks it into high gear. It gets really hot, and it breaks down quickly. Generally, I would say if you make a pile and you walk away from it and ignore it, which of course I never do, then it'll take 4 to 6 months, depending on your climate. Again, my climate here is very dry, so I have to keep it wet or it just sort of shuts down. But eventually it will break down. And that can take a year if you just ignore it, or it can take 6 weeks if you turn it and feed it, and it's the perfect moisture and the perfect balance of carbon to nitrogen.
Now, Ladine in the chat room is wondering regarding like pest control, because I'm sure that's a big aspect of gardening and farming and such. Is how can one get rid of fire ants naturally?
Fire ants.
Apart from a flamethrower to fight fire ants with fire, I guess.
I don't know, because ants aren't. There's actually a section in Sacred Land. One of the parts of Sacred Land is I write about garden allies, and I write about bees and microbes, and ants is one of them that I write about. They help aerate the soil, and they don't actually cause any harm to plants. But fire ants is a different situation because they bite, and they're a nuisance. I would do research about what fire ants like, and I would change the situation. So I know where I live, where I see fire ants is a dry, rocky, hot area where they can build their little rocky hill. And so if I had a space like that in my yard, I might mix in compost and some soil and plant things that they don't like and just make them move, essentially. And also deter them with peppermint oil, like essential oil of peppermint. That's what I've used in the house. You just spray down the counters with peppermint oil. It smells good, and it deters ants.
And it deters ants.
Cool. Is that available like at regular stores, or is that something you gotta create, or?
Peppermint oil? No, you can't create it. Essential oil is tricky to create, but any sort of natural store, food store, herb shop would have peppermint oil. Some regular stores might.
I'll have to check that out.
Same here. We tend to sometimes get ants creeping into the house like, oh, you don't mind if we take everything, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, they're looking for food,
and water.
They follow. That's right. They follow the scent. They leave a scent marker, and so you need to kill that scent marker and find out where they're coming into the house and physically block that area. And I've found too, like they'll come into the house when it's really hot and dry, and they can't find anything outside to eat. And after a while, they stop coming in.
Yeah.
So you want to remove their food source, and you want to make their home unpleasant, basically, for them.
All right. It's run right up on break time. And I just want to let everybody know, if you do have questions, here in the chat room, private chat them to either Jeffrey or myself. We'll get them right over to Clea. Also, if you're listening from somewhere around the world and you're not in here with us, come over to para-x.com, click on the live chat button at the top of the page, and you will be right in here with all these wonderful people. And I think we're going to jump out and take a quick break. And Jeff, I'm going to let you do the honors. How does that sound?
I so didn't even think to put something funny together, so just stay tuned for... Oh, I'm just terrible off the top of my head. I was sitting here typing away, and So, well, anyway, this echo is driving me crazy in my headset. Stay tuned after this musical interlude for para-x.com, Paranormal View, with our wonderful guest, the wonderful herbalist and gardener, Clea Danaan. You got me doing it. We'll be right back.
All right.
Don't go away. The Paranormal View will be right back.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Paranormal View right here on the Para-X Radio Network. I want to thank everybody for listening tonight, for being here in the chat room, and for listening from around the world. And if you're not in the chat room with us, you can do so by going to para-x.com. Click on the live chat button at the top of the page, and you'll be in with all these wonderful people. And you'll really enjoy it here. They're all like-minded, and they really, really are friendly. And if you have questions of our guest, you'll be able to private chat the questions to either Jeffrey Gould or Henry Foister, and we'll get them right over to Clea. And appreciate that. And we have tonight with us Clea Danaan. Is that right this time?
Danaan.
Danaan. Darn.
Yes.
I'll get it by the end of the show. I promise. I seriously probably won't, but I just want to thank all those listening from around the world tonight. We have people listening from the U.S., Finland, and the U.K. And appreciate you people joining in with us tonight.
I bet it's cool. I bet it's cooler in Finland than it is in California right now.
It's a good possibility. It got pretty warm here today. I think it was up around 95 or something like that, 96.
Oh, that's even worse than here. We only got it up to like in the late 80s.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
But it was from the plus 90s yesterday.
Oh. We want to pick up where we left off. We was talking about your book, Sacred Land.
Yes.
And I don't think today we had a question or anything. Did you have any, Jeff, from the chat room or anything?
No.
Okay. Question here is, can you grow anything anywhere?
No.
Stuff would grow rocks.
I wish you could, honestly. There's a sweet story about Denver is one of the places in the United States that took a whole group of Somali Bantu refugees when they left Somalia. Actually, they left Kenya because they had already left Somalia. And when they came here, they had been farmers, and so they got involved with, with Denver Urban Gardens, who helped them get a small farm set up and try to get established as farmers here in the United States. And one of the things they wanted to grow was banana trees, and unfortunately banana trees do not grow outdoors in Colorado at 5,000 feet, where it freezes in June and in September. So, no, unfortunately, you can't grow. And I have tried to grow several things that I missed from the Pacific Northwest, like blackberries, and I just kill them because they just don't like it here.
Huh.
So I think in a controlled environment, like a greenhouse, you can grow almost anything.
You can do it. Oh.
And you can stretch what you can grow a lot. So if you have an area of your yard that has a wall that sun reflects off of, so it gets very hot, you could grow something that needs more heat, like melons or peppers, than you might otherwise be able to.
Now, the next one is, does every plant have seeds?
Yes. I had to think about that for a second, but yes, that's part of the biological definition of a plant.
I thought he was giving a trick question or something. I'm like, where do you think they come from?
Where do you get seeds from a seedless watermelon?
That's definitely a chicken
Yeah,
and the egg kind of thing.
Yeah, well, there are seeds in a seedless watermelon, but they will not grow another watermelon.
Is that right?
And that's again that's going back to what we were talking about earlier with unsustainable agriculture, is that we want food to be transportable, look pretty, and be convenient. So we don't want to have to spit out pesky watermelon seeds, or I can't think of another example. That was the perfect one that you gave. So we've bred our plants, our watermelons, to have like Unix seeds, essentially. And so you can't grow another watermelon from that. And there's also, if you have a hybrid, which is when you mix two plants together, where the seed grows the plant grows the seed grows the plant. If you mix two of those together, you get what's called a hybrid. And a hybrid seed will not create a baby plant that's the same as its parent.
So
and
if
in
you're
some
at a
ways, that's
family,
actually... Go ahead.
I was going to say, so if you're at a family barbecue and you're spitting out watermelon seeds, you're essentially shooting blanks?
Probably, yes. If you're spitting out black watermelon seeds from an organic watermelon, you can probably grow a watermelon from that. But if you got a seedless watermelon from, Safeway or whatever, different grocery store chains, different places, but it probably would not grow another watermelon. So it depends.
Now, saving the seeds.
Yeah.
When do you get the seeds from the plant, and how do you prepare them to save?
All right. Well, it depends on the plant. Every seed, but how it deals with that seed is different. So there are some plants that are easier to save seed from, like lettuce. If you let lettuce keep growing and you don't pick it, it will go to seed. And in terms of food, that's not good, because lettuce that's gone to seed tastes absolutely horrible. So you wouldn't eat that. You would just grow it for seed. And then it creates this little yellow flower. If you let it keep going, eventually it'll have seeds on it. And then you collect those seeds store them in a cool, dark place in an envelope or something, and then plant them the following year. And if they didn't cross-pollinate with something else, then you will grow the same lettuce plant. And then there's other plants that are more complicated. Like tomatoes, you actually have to let them, you have to get the slimy coating on the seed off before you plant it, and there's different techniques for doing that. And then there's some plants, like apples, that are all hybrids. So it's not technical, well, I don't know what to call it, but if you plant an apple seed, if it grows a tree, you probably won't like those apples. Most of the apples that we buy are what's called grafted. So there's a part of a new plant on an old solid rootstock, and that's how apples are created. So you pretty much have to buy a baby apple tree, not grow from seed.
Wow. Now, you say the seeds, some seeds have like a wax on them.
Yes.
How do you get that off after they've been dried, or do you do that before you store up the seeds to get them ready for next year?
Usually you want to get before, like a tomato or a pepper. If when you cut one open, you can see they're coated in a protective slime kind of.
Right.
And you soak it in water. I've never done this before. I've just read about it, where you soak it in water for a while, and then the seeds rise to the top, and the coating kind of floats to the bottom. And then you have to let them dry before you store them.
And then
And of course, Henry, you can always just hire Ralph Macchio regarding apples, because he's a genius now at wax off.
Oh. Way to go. Okay. Who is the garden goddess?
There are many. If you're talking about the goddess, most pagans will relate to the goddess as the supreme feminine creator. And the goddess doesn't necessarily have a name. more of an energy. But there are many goddesses throughout cultures around the world that were and are dedicated to gardening. Like Pachamama is a gardening goddess in South America, and the myths relating to Pachamama were that she came down and taught people how to grow maize, and that the women still sing to her in the fields today as they plant their corn, their maize. And food is obviously deeply central to who we are as human beings. So throughout cultures around the world, there have been goddesses and gods who are connected to gardening or to growing food. And I talk a lot about them in my book.
Yes.
In Sacred Land.
There is a lot of, all this stuff is in her book, and if you're into gardening any at all, wanting to become one with the earth, you might say, you're going to want to get her books.
Well, becoming one with the earth also happens after you die, but that's something else.
Right, then you become compost.
It's all connected. It's all connected. You become compost.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a great way to make compost.
How do you incorporate? Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say, essentially, it's the Shakespeare equivalent of mulch ado about nothing.
Mulch to do about nothing. Okay.
I like that.
She's going to put that in one of her books now.
It should be a T-shirt.
Oh, there you go. All right. How do you incorporate planetary energy into the gardening?
Yeah, I write about that a lot in Sacred Land. It's something I'm interested in, but it's not something I've spent a whole lot of time on myself. But the planets all have each their own energies. So Saturn is about structure. Jupiter is about ending and going through the darkness and coming out on the other side. Venus is about love and healing. And so each of the planets also has plants that are the energy of different planets. So you could do some research about what plants are related to which planets and which energies, and you could go as far as you wanted. You could just plant a few things related to Venus if you were seeking love in your life, or you could create a whole giant labyrinth as you walk through the planets and attune to the different energies in the cosmos. And people who are interested in planetary gardening might enjoy some of Cunningham's books. Scott Cunningham, he has Magical Herbalism, and there's I can't find it. It's similar. It's a dictionary, encyclopedia of plants. And he just goes through and explains the energy of each plant. It's a water plant. It's a Jupiter plant. Its magical energy is healing and protection. And then you can incorporate those plants into your garden.
And he also has earth, air, fire, and water, more techniques of natural magic, which has got herbalism inside as well.
Yes.
Now you also talk about how to get along with different insects and creatures who share your garden, and we just talked some about the ants. Mm-hmm. But you also talk about bees.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we get along with bees?
Well, bees are going about their business. People are so afraid of bees because they sting, and there are people who are allergic to bee stings, and obviously that's a pretty serious condition. So someone who's allergic to bee stings probably won't actually raise bees. But bees pollinate something like 85% of all of our food crops. And the bees, right now, honeybees in the United States, and probably other parts of the world, but definitely the United States, are suffering a lot because of chemical use mostly, and also because of foreign bees coming in, like Africanized bees. And they brought bee mites that are invading honeybees. So if we want our food system to remain as it is, we need to support the bee. So that can be as simple as not using chemicals and planting flowers in your garden and providing water. They like a bird bath. They need to drink water just like we do. Or you might raise bees, and that's something that I would like to do at some point in my life. Right now I have 2 small children, and I think my son would love it. He's very into bugs. I came out one day, and his word for bug is zzz. He's almost 2. And he was holding a wasp in his hand. And he did not get stung. He was just holding this wasp. And I think he would be a great beekeeper. But my daughter's terrified of them, so we'll wait till she's a little bit older. Exactly. But just not killing them. Wasps are a little bit more difficult than honeybees because they'll lay their nests in the ground, and in the late summer when they're laying their eggs and mating and looking for food and water, they can get aggressive.
Right. They
so
swarm.
We don't want them around like our food, in
Right.
restaurants and that kind of thing. So that's why they're seen as a pest. But essentially they're just trying to live as well. And wasps they kill bad bugs. They eat mosquitoes and other bugs that that harm our plants. So we actually want wasps in the garden. We just want them to kind of
Leave
keep
us
to
alone.
themselves.
Yeah.
You need training.
Exactly, bee training. And then another piece too is our attitude. Just like a horse or another animal can feel the energy that we're putting out.
Right.
I believe that bees can feel that too. One
Right.
time I was working in a little pond that I had, and it was in the sun, and there were a lot of hornets that were landing on the water and drinking from the water. And at first I was nervous, and then I just calmed myself down. And I don't remember what I was doing, if I was working with the plants or getting sludge out of the pond or whatever, but I was definitely in the pond with a dozen wasps all around me, hornets all around me. And they didn't pay any attention to me. They didn't care. Because I wasn't hurting them, and they didn't bother me. So it takes some changing of our attitude towards bugs. They're not, we're all on the planet together, and we need each other.
It's like that they can sense the vibes that you're putting out. Yeah.
That's definitely true of beekeepers. They get very, very calm and centered, and even go into kind of a trance state.
Right.
And in order to work with the bees.
So
maybe that's the answer to the fire ant problem, is to get
I don't
calm
know,
and centered and tell them to leave.
fire ants I don't care for.
No.
What
Give them
does
all happy hugs. Oh, wait.
what does bats have to do with gardens?
Bats eat bugs, essentially, in our climate. In South America and other more warmer climates, bats fertilize. So they actually fertilize the plant that makes tequila, and a lot of the mangoes and rainforest fruits that we get. But in more northern climates, we don't have fruit bats. We have bug bats, and they eat mosquitoes, and they eat moths. And so a moth that might lay eggs on your cabbage and eat the moth larva will eat holes in your cabbage. We can keep down on those numbers of those moths with nocturnal hunting bats, which will eat those moths.
As well as not planting cabbages. Oh, wait.
So, what about frogs?
Frogs, again, they're
They eat
part
bugs?
of the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
And let's see. Oh, okay. So I was trying to remember. The other day, I was hanging out with somebody, and she noticed our bat house. And she said, "You have a bat house." I'll get back to frogs, I promise. I said, yes, we have a bat house, but it's in bat problems. Right? She said, well, you don't really need bat houses here, not like some places where it's so buggy. And I said, everywhere needs a bat house. The bats are threatened, and we need to protect them. And I really strongly believe in, not everybody's at this place, but I really strongly believe that the bats and frogs and wasps, and that they have their place too, and that when we create a garden that has habitats for frogs and bats and snakes and rabbits, some of our work as a gardener is to protect our garden so that we get our food, like from rabbits. But some of our work is to create a habitat where frogs can live and be healthy and happy.
Now,
just, in their own right.
But frogs also eat bugs too.
Yes, they do.
Yep.
They do.
What about?
And they feed fish, and they feed.
True.
Other animals, and so it's all connected.
Right.
And I think that's the key to
it's a cycle of life.
Sacred gardening and organic gardening is that it's all. They're not individual elements any more than we are.
What about butterflies?
Butterflies, again, like just part of the world. I'm looking up what I wrote about butterfly here. Let's see. They are a part of the world, and our gardens can help support them.
They pretty much do a lot of pollinating, though, right?
They do some pollination,
flowers,
yes.
Yeah.
And they also, they fertilize, help pollinate plants, and they provide food for birds. So they're all, again, connected.
Right. Now the last two that I have on this here is some that you may not have thought of, or a lot of people may not have thought of. The first one is gnomes. Now, is that like the statues that you put out in the garden?
No. A gnome is, so each of the four directions in traditional magic has a being associated with it. The direction of the north and the element of earth is associated with gnomes. And Peter Tompkins, who we were talking about earlier in his book, The Secret Life of Nature, he actually talks quite a bit about gnomes and how they are the energy of the rocks and the soil. And they're actually underground, these energy beings who are creating the soil and managing the soil, protecting the rocks, the stones, the minerals. And as I was researching them, I was like, it's Snow White's dwarves. They went underground. They took care of things. And I don't know if Disney or whoever wrote that knew that he was playing with earth energies, but he was creating gnomes.
Huh. Well, what about the last one on this? What about fairies?
Fairies, again, with gnomes. And they are energies of nature. And they are part of hierarchy of, as I understand it, they are part of the hierarchy of non-material beings that are not human. So angels, fairies, gnomes, sylphs, and they're essentially like the guardians of plants. And people who work with fairies can connect with that sort of higher vibration energy and work directly with the guardians of the plant.
Now, what type of plants attract fairies?
All kinds. But especially flowers and whimsical plants. You know, the energy of fairies is very light and floaty and not serious. So having fun in the garden, you can even put, it's playful, you know, to put little bitty chairs and fairy furniture in the garden. And I've never seen a fairy. I've felt energies of devas and other plant spirits, but I've never seen a fairy. But on my blog, is CleaDanaan.com, there's a picture of a fairy that an artist sent to me. She had read my book and done some research because she took a picture of a fairy up in the pine forest here in Colorado, and she didn't know what to make when she developed the picture. I don't know, it was a digital picture, so I don't know when she saw it, if it was on the camera or when she printed the photograph, but there was this little face in her picture. So, all plants, like fairies.
Now, if you've got questions, don't forget, private chat them to Jeffrey or myself. We'll get them right over to Clea. Interesting topic, and her books are really fascinating. So it's almost time to take another quick break, and I want to get back, when we come back, I want to get into the book Voices of the Earth. We'll talk a little bit about that, and the last one, which is still secret. So Jeff, I'm going to let you take us out for another quick break. How does that sound? And when we come back, then we'll get right into this. Also, before we jump off, I want to remind everybody, stay tuned right after our show, because you have Joe and Tara and Visions Magazine Radio coming on. And tonight they have... Joe interviews a gypsy spellcaster, Lauren Coniglio. I'll butcher this one. Dolency, something like that. That's close. And Tara gives Joe a 6-month tarot card reading. So stay tuned for their show right after ours, be coming up 10 o'clock Eastern.
That's a really long reading. Wow. Just sitting there for 6 months, just pulling cards.
I know. Yeah, you won't never get nothing done. So take us out, and Clea will be right back right after this. So everybody stay tuned. Jeff's going to take us out here on another quick break.
Kind of sounds like you just did take us out to break, but you're listening to the Paranormal View on para-x.com with our erudite guest, Clea Danaan. No, I can't say it either. Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.
Are you still muted there, Henry?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Welcome back to the Paranormal View right here on the Para-X Radio Network. Appreciate each and every one of you being here, and thank you, Mr. Jeffrey.
Although I was tempted saying, wow, I haven't done that since January. I'm thinking, I was almost thinking, how long could he go?
Yeah. Well, if you're not here with us, come on over to para-x.com, click on the live chat button at the top of the page, and you'll be in with all these wonderful people. If you do have questions, don't forget, private chat them to either Jeffrey or myself, and we'll get them right over here to Clea. Since time is running on by, we want to jump right on in to this next portion, or some of your other book called Voices of the Earth. And in that book you talk about psychic powers, talking to nature, communicating with plants, with trees, and nature spirits. Now, you talk in this about a holistic lifestyle. What is a holistic lifestyle?
That's going to look different to different people for sure. But the word whole, even though it's spelled differently, the word whole in holistic is obviously a piece of it, where we live consciously. So the choices that we make, we recognize the effects that they're going to have outside of our little bubble and make choices accordingly as best we can. So that can look like eating healthily and recycling, and for some people they'll be drawn to gardening, not everybody is, etc. A healthy lifestyle.
A healthy lifestyle.
A healthy lifestyle that's not just healthy for me, but for my family, for my neighborhood, for my ecosystem, for the planet, as best I can, which unfortunately we live in a world where we can't always make perfect choices, but as best we can.
Which would probably be nice if a lot of people tried to get in tune with nature and quit using chemicals. I know a long time ago, most of your people that didn't live right in the heart of the cities had their own gardens and had to grow their own stuff and live off the land, can and save and all that, and they did it without using pesticides and different things like that. They seem to have a healthier lifestyle by doing that.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
Well, I've been really interested in the obesity epidemic in the United States especially, and how we've become so out of tune with where our food comes from and what's in our food. And just simply growing a pot of tomatoes can completely change the way a person looks at food and their bodies and their health and their environment.
Right. It's like if you grow it yourself, it always tastes better.
It does.
Yeah.
It does for lots of reasons.
What is nature spirits?
Nature spirit is the soul, the spirit, the energy of a plant, a rock, water. Like I mentioned earlier, I feel energies. I don't see, or I've never heard voices or whatever. I've seen little edges of auras and whatnot, but I don't really, that's not the channel that I pick information up on. So Voices of the Earth is about my journey in understanding and exploring my sensing the energy of a plant, the spirit of a plant, and going beyond that to knowing that things like rocks and rivers have souls and spirits, which shamans and teachers in indigenous cultures have taught for a long time. So it's not just a new sort of floaty idea. It's been around as long as we have.
Now, you said that you haven't heard voices and stuff, but when communicating with the plants and trees, what do they say? I know you are able to feel the psychic of it.
I get images in my head and sensations in my body that I can translate into words. So there are parts in the book, for instance, where I tune in with a group of trees far away from where I am, and I get a message from them about being on the right path and living in the moment, grounding and trusting and slowing down. And that's a translation of a sort of felt image, if you will, of what I get from plants. And it's something I had to learn to trust over time, because it doesn't make logical, rational sense, and it just sounds silly, But over time, I've worked with it and learned to trust it.
And that would be where your psychic comes in at?
Yes.
The psychic powers? Yeah.
Yes. And I've also...
I was going to say, which is interesting, because when I was trying to find on your site the photo of the fairy the guy had sent you, I came across a link that you had written an online article on how to see fairies.
Yes. Because I've studied how other people see fairies, but I've never seen books myself.
Have you ever read Ted Andrews' books?
Lynn Andrews?
Ted Andrews.
No, I haven't.
Oh, brilliant. It's so sad that he's no longer with us. He was an acquaintance of mine back when I lived in New Jersey. He's written countless books. We used to joke that he'd write about 3 a year: how to see auras, how to see fairies and spirit guides. Through him, I have the nickname Badger. And
Okay.
but yeah, he has a book on how to see. I'm trying to think offhand. Let me check my little page here. Oh, that's not how to spell Meta.
Yeah.
When I do it too fast,
The
my Firefox says, "What are you doing?"
fingers don't work when you do it too fast.
Seriously. The thing is I type really quickly.
While
There we
Jeff
go.
is, did you find it, Jeff?
Yeah, nature speak,
Okay.
signs, omens, messages, and natures. There we go. Enchantments of the fairy realm communicate with nature spirits and elementals. I'll send you the link to that.
And what is his name again?
Ted Andrews.
Ted Andrews. I couldn't
Ted.
relate
Yeah.
it.
As in
Yes,
theater.
I have read Ted Andrews' stuff, and he's fabulous.
I know. What a loss to the deep community.
Yes.
The plants and trees and flowers and everything, do they have feelings?
Yes, but it's different than how we. I think feelings in our bodies are about hormones and energy, and it's scientists are trying to nail down what a feeling is. What do we mean when we feel love, when we feel joy? What happens? Is it just chemicals? Is it more than that? Because plants are biologically different than we are. Their emotions and feelings are not the same, but I have felt plants that feel more in their right place, more content, more in relationship with other plants and with animals. They feel, I felt like median strips by the sides of freeways that just feel empty and kind of abandoned and maybe even a little angry. But I don't know how much of that is me translating, just like I translate a felt sense into words, translating into my own emotions. But there's definitely a sort of a draw, a pull that trees or plants can feel towards what's good or what's not good for them. So I guess it depends on how you define
What
feeling.
a feeling is, right?
Yeah.
I wonder, a plant that's growing is alive.
Yes.
I wonder, does it feel when you kill it or when it dies, or?
Oh, they've done dozens of studies about that. They've had.
Yeah, they definitely feel it.
But not in the way
Go ahead,
we
Jeff.
do it.
Yeah, I was going to say they've had various flowers with little sensors attached, and they'll have somebody come in to the room with a pair of scissors and will cut the dickens out of a different plant, and then leave. And when the same guy comes back in, even if he doesn't have a scissor, all the sensors react with the other flowers like, "Oh my God, it's that killer guy again." They all freak out, literally.
Wow.
And considering they're not triffids, they just had to stand there and kind of take it.
Well, that's pretty interesting. I guess I'm probably considered a murderer then, because I've killed my share of them trying to grow.
Oh, we all are. And the plant world is closer to how I say this. Like the death is a change. It's a butterfly change. And plants are less attached to the physical world than we humans are, and I think animals, non-human animals, are somewhere in between.
Right.
Where we don't want to die. We're in the flesh. We're in this realm, but there's a part of us that knows that the spirit goes on, and it's the same. The same is true for plants.
Well, now we're down to almost about a half hour left, and we probably actually got about 25 minutes of talking, maybe a little less. Which comes to the last book that you got, the one that I was keeping secret.
The secret, yes.
Yeah, The Way of the Hen. Now, because the others was dealing with the plants and the land and everything like that, this last one, I'm sure it deals with that somewhat, but it's different. What is The Way of the Hen dealing with?
Well, originally it was published in the UK under the name Zen and the Art of Raising Chickens. And then the subtitle is The Way of Hen. And for some reason unknown to me, when it came to the United States, the name changed. They swapped it. So it's The Way of Hen, Zen and the Art of Raising Chickens. And it deals with how keeping a small flock of chickens is a responsible, conscious act and can actually be a spiritual act. So it's an extension of how my books are about living consciously and responsibly and spiritually through everyday living, whether that's your food or your garden or your chickens.
Now, I know when me and my brother was very young, 7, 8, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Back then at Easter time, you was able to go to different stores and buy dyed chickens. They'd be purple or pink or yellow or whatever color. But you could get, their feathers were dyed, so they'd be different colored baby chickens. And one Easter, each one of us got a little chicken, baby chicken. We kept it in the house, kept it in a box. We fed it and watered it until it started getting big enough to where the colors were coming out of the feathers and it was turning white. And it was too big to actually just keep in the house.
Right.
We took them out and turned them loose in my uncle's farm where he had tons and tons of chickens. And of course, later on in the year, it come time to kill the chickens and freeze them for eating later on. And when they did that, I never knew which chicken was mine. So anytime I went out to my uncle's and they had fried chicken, I wouldn't eat it. For the longest time, I said, I don't know which chicken's mine. I'm not eating those. But yeah, they used to do that. I don't think they do that too much anymore.
I'm pretty sure.
Dying chickens. No, I've never seen that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that practice is gone a long time ago.
Yeah, they used to do that. You go and buy them. I don't know, quarter a piece or 50 cents a piece, something like that. I don't remember how much they were, but they wasn't a lot. But you talk about it's about entertaining, rewarding, and the art of raising chickens.
Yes. And I'm specifically talking about small flocks of egg layers in an urban or suburban setting.
Right. Well, you said also that one might even say we long for a more zen. What do you mean by that?
I think we get so caught up in cars and cell phones and the internet and jobs that we all just, everybody wants a vacation. We all want to slow down. And especially in our culture here, we've kind of forgotten how to slow down. Slowing down to us means sitting in front of a television and being advertised to. And we all enjoy that, or many of us enjoy that every once in a while. But what I found when I got chickens is that I slow down. I sit there and I watch them, and I pay attention to the weather, and I feed them, and it's more relaxed. Or, I use the word zen somewhat tongue-in-cheek. This book, chickens are funny, and this book is meant to be light as well as serious.
Well, take into account every time a chicken is scratching, he's creating his own little zen garden.
Yes, exactly.
So, Jeff, how many chickens do you have?
I don't, but oddly enough, where I used to live in Van Nuys when I first moved out here, there were chickens living not too far away, and they would just hang out. I mean, you could hear roosters in the morning, and this was a heavily suburban area. This wasn't like out in the middle of farmland. And I believe there might be a chicken or two up here. I'm up north of Pasadena. So on occasion I'll hear what sounds like it could be chickens, but I don't know. But usually we got a lot of mostly ravens and such, but you know.
Now, fresh eggs is a good thing that you can get from chickens.
Yes.
So that's one good reason for having chickens. I mean, you can go out and get your eggs every day and have fresh eggs.
Yes. They're fresh. They're higher in, free-range chickens that live happily and get to move around and scratch and eat bugs. Their eggs are much higher in protein and a lot of nutrients than your regular store-bought egg. And you can see it. You crack an egg into the pan next to a free-range farm-raised chicken, and the color of the yolk is much darker.
Mm-hmm. Now, if somebody was wanting to raise chickens, and I guess one of the questions I got is, how often does a chicken lay an egg?
Most breeds lay one egg a day.
Okay, so
and it kind of depends. The chickens that we have, I selected. I mean, there's hundreds of chicken breeds, and I selected ones that were cold hardy because we get cold winters, and mellow because I have children, and that they lay, 5 to 7 eggs a week.
So actually, to get enough eggs, if you're going to eat eggs pretty much every day or every other day, you're going to need 4 or 5 chickens.
Quite a few chickens, yeah. Most urban settings, they allow up to 6. Some are up to 4. And we eat a lot of eggs in this house, so we actually supplement with eggs from the store.
Right.
But we recently got 3 more chickens who just started laying. They lay the cutest little eggs. They're just tiny. They're about 1.5 inches long. And so they just started laying, and we may get all of our eggs from our flock when all 6 are laid. That's my hope.
That's pretty interesting. I know I used to go, when I go out to my uncle's farm, he had a regular chicken coop, and you'd go in, they'd have nests all in the chicken coop, and you'd have to go in and collect the eggs every morning. If you've got, I don't know, say 4 or 5 chickens, you have to build a chicken coop so they can have little nests where they sit and lay their eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And a chicken coop also keeps out predators like foxes and possums and stuff.
Right. Now, the other big question is, what do you do with all the chicken poop?
Mostly I ignore it. It's good for compost. You throw it in the compost.
That's right.
It's very high in nitrogen, so it'll activate your compost. It'll burn plants, so you can't put on the plants. But I discovered, since my girls just wander around, that we just ignore the poo that's on the dirt. And every once in a while I'll go in there and I'll shave off the top layer of dirt, and I'll use that somewhere in my garden. And then in the coop we have shavings that they drop in whenever they're in there, and I just let that break down over time, and then depending on what the ratio is of chicken droppings to shavings, I'll either toss it up and pass as mulch, or I'll put it in the compost if it's not too much wood, too much shavings.
I never realized that hen droppings were acidic enough to be damaging to flowers.
Yeah.
They are. They're very high in nitrogen, same as bat guano. Bird and bat. The only dropping I'm aware of directly onto the garden is rabbit. Maybe guinea pig as well, but I know rabbit.
Not even cow? Not even cow?
No, not even cow. That has to compost first.
Oh, okay.
And once it breaks down, you give it a month or 2 or 6, and then you can put it right on.
Now, I was under the impression that bat guano was good fertilizer.
It is fabulous fertilizer. But the stuff you bought at the garden center sat there and composted. Because if they put it in a package, it can actually, and fresh, not only would it burn your plants, but it could actually explode.
Huh.
Yeah.
And what is it? What is it that does that?
Bat guano.
The nitrogen.
Oh.
Is that why they tend to be used for things that go boom?
Right. That would be
I
interesting.
never realized that would be the reason. Because I would always, they bought a lot of fertilizer. I'm like, well, so it's going to stink.
Now, will a chicken lay eggs without a rooster?
Yes.
They just don't
Just
sit
like
on them.
we humans lay eggs without a rooster. Internally, what you can't get without a rooster is you can't get another chicken.
Right.
But
Because
they have nothing to do with the egg laying.
well, they lay an egg, they won't actually sit on it to try to hatch it unless there's a rooster.
Well, no, chickens go through this. Some breeds of chickens can get what's called broody, which means that they decide that they want to hatch their eggs,
Right?
and so they'll sit on them. And if you don't have a rooster, the best way to break a chicken of being broody is to put fertile eggs underneath her until they hatch, and then either keep the chicks or, sell them or give them away or whatever.
Or tasers.
But what's that?
I was saying, or tasers. Tasers would get rid of them all.
That would be a harsh way of doing it.
True, but you'd have instant cooked chicken there.
Now,
I couldn't help mentioning, by the way, in the chat room, I pointed out I was born in the Chinese year of the rooster. Of course, I used a different word, but
now, is there a difference in, say, out in the country growing or having chickens and having chickens in the city? What's some of the
Neighbors.
different things that you have to do for the different areas like that?
You pretty much make sure you're not irritating your neighbors. You can have more chickens chickens need something like 4 square feet of coop and of run space to be happy.
Is that
so
per
obviously
chicken?
you can have more chickens if you have more land.
Would that be per chicken? The 4
Right,
foot?
exactly. And in an urban environment, so I've got smaller space, and I have to keep it clean. I would keep it clean if I were on a farm, obviously, but the chickens are sort of spreading it around a little bit more in a larger area, so
Right.
we can get kind of smelly in a small coop, so we have to keep on top of that. And the main thing is neighbors, not
Yep.
irritating the neighbors. And then some people are concerned with chicken zoning laws, and whether or not you're actually allowed to have chickens.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good idea to look into that before you order chickens.
you could always move in next to Marley Matlin.
Who's that?
Who's Molly Matlin?
She's a deaf actress, very famous.
Tell Jeff we don't live on the West Coast.
Well, she was in Children of the Lesser God. She's on Switched at Birth right now. She's TV and stuff.
I'm going to start watching some of these shows that you talk about.
Seriously,
So-
you never know when I'm going to show up on one of them.
That's right.
It's been a while since My Name is Earl went off the air, so come on.
Yeah, they've been showing reruns. Big
yeah,
time.
right and left. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I've only been on the offshoot show, Raising Hope, once. I'd love to be on that again.
Do chickens fly?
You throw them out
Not
of
very
window.
well. Not very well. They can fly. I think there's some record of like 13 feet that a
13
chicken
feet?
has ever flown.
But it doesn't get very high flying, though, does it?
No, they don't. But they can, if they get upset, they'll kind of flop. And so when we first had them, we were worried about them ending up in the neighbor's yard. And that's only happened once, so that's good. And you can clip their wings. It doesn't hurt them. You use a sharp scissors and you just cut off the ends of the feathers on their wings.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt them, and you can't see it, but it stops them from flying at all.
At all. Okay.
But I only did that once, and it didn't matter, and I haven't done it since then.
Well, now, you said there was hundreds of types of chickens. What are some of the better chickens if you're like in the city and small areas? What are some of the better types of chickens to buy, and what does the cost run on them?
Well, it depends on where you live. Like I said, I chose some that were that could handle heat and cold. And my favorite that we've had is a Buff Orpington. It's a peachy-colored chicken. They're real mellow. They're quiet. At least the ones we've had are. And they lay, one brown egg a day. So I like Buff Orpingtons. You can get these fancy chickens that cost quite a bit. It's something to research for somebody who's interested in chickens. MyPetChicken.com is a great place to go look into the different breeds, what kind of egg color they lay, how they can handle other chickens, how they deal with children, what they look like, etc., and how much they cost.
We got a kind of a question from Joe in the chat room.
Oh, God, no.
Why are chickens so good at tic-tac-toe at country fairs?
Oh, thank God. I thought you were going to say the other thing you were saying.
Why?
I
don't know. I have never seen them at the fair playing tic-tac-toe, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah. There was, out here in California when I was a child, we used to come out and they had like a Santa's workshop and they had these different animals that were trained to do odd little things to look like they were regular people, animals doing cool things. And a chicken playing a toy piano or playing tic-tac-toe, and they just learned how to do it. They'd get, positive reinforcement treats and all.
If you search on YouTube for dancing chicken, there's some very funny movies that come up.
Oh. Well, now, say you get you a couple chickens. Do you buy them as babies and raise them that way, or do you buy them fairly well full grown?
I've done it two ways. I got chicks the first time, and we kept them in a dog crate in our office. And then when they got all their feathers in, we put them outside. And then the second time around, for various reasons, I didn't want young chicks, so I bought them from a woman who lives near me. And I should say the first batch of chicks that I got, I ordered from, I think from MyPetChicken.com, and they came in the mail. Because they can live for a couple of days after they hatch without food or water. So they actually mailed them to us. The second batch I got from a woman who lives near here, and she actually just hung on to them until they were about a month old. So they're not tiny, but they're ready to go outside. So we kept them in our garage for a month. And when they got big enough, we put them in with our existing chickens, which was fun because pecking order is a real thing, and it's not pretty. And they had to get to know each other.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's all the sayings about chickens, pecking order, and the one I couldn't figure out is spring chicken. But pecking order, and there's a couple others, are directly related to real chicken behavior.
Wow. Really? Huh.
Being cooped up, they do not like being cooped up. They start squawking and flapping around.
They start telling each other to get the cluck out of here.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Once you get the chickens and you've got them and they lay eggs and stuff, how long do they live before you have to Use them
Eat
for
'em.
food, you might say.
They lay eggs for 2 to 3 years, and then they go into ovipause. It's a real word. And then you can keep them as pets, or you can... older chickens are not so great for eating. And again, it's you name them, you raise them as a pet. So most people don't slaughter them and eat them. Although I understand that that you could, and then you could use a slow cooker, and that would deal with the tough meat, like a capon or any other tough meat. Most people will find some place that will take them, like a farm that has room.
Right.
And then they live chickens can live for up to like 10 years.
Really?
Most of them live not that long. Even when they're happy, free range, it'll be like 5, 6, something like that.
Wow.
Even 8.
So you have to continually keep replacing and
Yes.
adding.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten to that point yet. We've had our first batch for a few years now, so they're still laying.
Well,
And I haven't decided what I'm going to do with them at that point. I'll probably give them to the woman who we bought the second batch from.
so now that you've gotten the chickens and you're doing the compost and the vegetables and the flowers, are you going to buy a cow next?
I don't really have room for a cow. Here in Denver, I'm not in Denver, I'm in Aurora. In Denver, chickens are legal, and so are miniature goats.
Miniature goats.
Yes. Get milk from them, and just like a full-size goat. So
Wow.
I don't have plans to get any goats, but that would be fun. Like I said, my next project would be bees. At this point, it's raising children. That's enough right now.
Say that's enough right now, huh? Well, I tell you, kind of like at this point of the show, I know, do you, we didn't get a chance to talk anything about anything like paranormal, but I know you're intuitive. Have you ever, I don't guess do you believe in spirits and ghosts or anything like that?
I do. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've never seen a ghost, but I know people who've dealt with them. And I actually had a recent experience. I went into a person's house, a friend of mine, and we were visiting, having fun. I went down into her basement, and it just felt funky. It felt cold and eerie, and I was like, wow, it feels kind of haunted. And I thought, that's weird. Doesn't make any sense. And then I remembered that her brother had actually killed himself in that basement.
Really?
Yeah, and I could definitely feel it. And I didn't talk to her. It was her parents' house, and I obviously didn't discuss it with them. But yeah, that's the closest I've been to feeling a spirit. I've known a lot of people who've passed away or crossed over, or what you want to call it, and I feel that I've communicated with them in different ways. But I've never, seen a ghost or dealt with a haunting, that kind of thing.
Well, would you ever be interested in going on an investigation sometime with some people?
Aren't you married? Oh, wait.
I don't know. I think I think that's a realm I've stayed away from. I'll stick to the psychic world.
You wouldn't be afraid of them, would you?
Well, it would depend, honestly. If it felt really eerie to me to be in that basement, and I knew that person, and I know his story, and but it's a funny thing. I know that I shouldn't be afraid of it because I feel pretty strongly about the afterlife being just a continuation, and
they're just
that kind of
spirits
thing.
Like we are, just in a different realm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I felt that and connected with that. So, I don't know. Maybe I would. Maybe I wouldn't be afraid.
I was always afraid. I wouldn't go in any place that I even thought there might be a ghost in until they actually got me started going. And I got on Para X here is when I met Dave and them, and they're the ones that actually got me involved and got me onto the radio show part. And I was always afraid. I mean, I was a big wimp. I mean, I still don't like basements or crawl spaces or tunnels, anything like that. I just don't like. But I've been to quite a few places. I've never seen anything. Just picked up EVPs. I've felt uneasy, maybe kind of. But
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I've only heard a few things, like when I was at Waverly, I heard like footsteps. It was behind me and stuff like that. But of course, there wasn't anything back there. But basically, that's all. A lot of people, or some people, every now and then say that they actually hear the voices and stuff. I've never actually heard anything. But I think it would be pretty neat. I mean, it's all interesting to me. So that's why I like to go do it. Yeah. So, Clea, I want to thank you for being on with us tonight. Been a great guest.
Thank you.
A great show, and everybody in here just had a great time.
Good.
What I want you to do now is give out all your website addresses and how they can get a hold of you and follow you and all about your books, where they can get them at. And I want you to stay on even after we sign off, and we'll chat with you for a few minutes.
All right, sounds good.
So go ahead and give all that out.
My website is cleadanaan.com, which is CLEADAAN. And I'm on Twitter as Garden Whisperer, but I think you can search under my name as well, Clea Danaan. I'm on Facebook under Clea Danaan. And you can buy my books. You can order them through Amazon or through the publisher Sacred Land. And Voices of the Earth are published by Llewellyn, and you can buy them on their website, llewellyn.com. And then, let's see, Way of Hen, Zen and the Art of Raising Chickens, will be out October 1st in the United States, and will be in stores. And if it's not in a bookstore, you can order it online or through the bookstore.
Okay. I want everybody to go out and buy those books. Learn how to get in tune with nature. Jeff, you might as well go ahead and be giving out all our other website addresses here.
Absolutely. Well, also, Clea's books will be... Oh, I got to take these headsets off. Cannot hear myself think. The links to her books are going to be on the report page that I have for tonight's show. If you go to my website, which is jeffgould.net, GEOFFGOULD.net/2011 PNV.htm, that'll bring up a page where you can click on either the report or listen to the podcast once Henry has it up. I put it right on there. And if you go to tonight's show page, you'll get all of Clea's books and even the recommended Peter Thompson's link I have on there. Also, on my metaphysics page, which is, if you go to my website, jeffgould.net, on the very top, click on Store, Books, Metaphysical Books, and you'll find Clea's books on there, along with others like our own Marla Brooks and stuff like that. And Henry really needs to start writing.
I know.
Also, if you want to get all things Paranormal View, apparel-wise, you can go to cafepress.com/realbadgershop. It's all one word, Real Badger Shop. And, of course, Paranormal View has its own Facebook page, and I'm on Facebook as well, Jeffrey.Gould, GEOFFREY.GOULD. And hooray.
Very good. You can also pick us up on theparanormalview.com. That's one of our web pages. I've been slowly redoing it and working some on it, updating it and stuff, so we're still working on that one. You can also, if you want to send us an email, you can also go to theparanormalviewfans@gmail.com and send it that way. You can go to the Paranormal View at podomatic.com. and listen to our podcast, or you can go up to the top of the page here at ParaX and click on the On Demand button and go down to the Paranormal View segments. So you can do all that. Our time has run out. I want to thank everybody for being here listening tonight. I want to thank Clea for being on with us. And
Thank you, my pleasure.
Stay tuned for Joe and Tara on Visions Radio. We are out of here. Next week we have guest Leah Scott Price. So stay tuned. See you next week. And we are going to be out of here. So good night, everybody.
Good night.
We're leaving. Paranormal View. Come back and visit us again if you dare. You've been listening to the Paranormal View on the